many of you may be familiar with Stoicism or Stoic philosophy and its ideas. You may be familiar with some of the famous historical names such as Marcus Aurelius or Seneca or Epictetus. They are known Stoic philosophers. And one of the things that I've always marveled at philosophies and ideas that survive through the ages is their validity throughout time. So just as Stoicism made sense and was applicable and beneficial for those living in ancient Rome and the busyness and hustle and bustle and no doubt the stress of that lifestyle, it is just as applicable to us so many years later, where we live these busy lives filled with stress. So today I want to remind you of something like an ancient philosophy like Stoicism that still applies today, and how by maybe studying this philosophy or embracing its ideas or just even checking it out or keeping an open mind through something as simple as this one single video, you can reap the benefits of these brilliant minds of our ancient history, our ancient worlds. On this very planet are ancient brothers and sisters who passed on these ideas that can still benefit us today. So let's talk about the basic philosophies or the basic ideas of Stoicism that can really be just as meaningful to us today. The first thing that it's important to remember in life is there are things in life over which you have control, and there are things in life over which you have no control. And that sounds incredibly simple, and it is, but it's also incredibly true and wise and powerful and applicable. If you try to control everything, you will drive yourself crazy. You will stress yourself out unnecessarily. But when you have the wisdom to recognize that while some things are absolutely in your control, there are things that are not in your control. And I like to throw in a third category in there. There are some things on one end of the spectrum that are in your control. On the other end, there are those things that are not in your control. But everywhere in between, you may find things that are kind of, sort of in your control. Maybe not real control, but perhaps your influence. So maybe you can't control them, but you can influence them. So it's important that you realize that things in life that you encounter, that you experience, and that's things and people and situations and occurrences, they're on that scale somewhere. And the better able you are to identify where on that scale they are, from in your control to completely not in your control, the better able you are to have the correct response to it. Because it makes no sense to try to control something that is out of your control. Just as it makes no sense to throw your arms up in the air and say, I can't do anything about something that actually is in your control. So these are simple philosophies of life, but they are so important and unfortunately often forgotten in our busy life. But embracing and remembering these simple things can actually be helpful to you in managing stress in your life. So that was the first thing to know when it comes to Stoic philosophy. Remember that some things are in your control, but other things are not. So then you have to act accordingly. Don't try to control those things that are out of your control, and make sure you're responsible enough to those things that you can control. Don't run away from that and pretend that there's nothing you can do when you actually have control over something. The second of the three main ideas of Stoicism is that it's not the things that upset you, but rather your feelings or your opinions on the things that upset you. And when we say things, we mean things, people, occurrences, situations, all of it, right? All of it falls into that category. So it's less about the thing, and it's more about your feeling about it, your interpretation of it, your meaning that you assign to it. You have to assign a meaning, or rather you choose to assign a meaning. And maybe in some situations you're not the one who chose the meaning, but rather you're following somebody else's chosen meaning on a thing or a situation or a behavior. But if you had no opinion on something, then it would have no power to upset you, to affect you in any way. And if you don't believe me, then take a look around you. Why is it that some people get upset by things while other people have absolutely no feeling, not a bit of displeasure or discomfort about the very same things? It's just that they are not attached to a strong opinion on it. I'm not saying that you can't have an opinion, but what I'm saying is don't let that opinion lead you by your nose. Don't let that opinion be strong. Don't let that opinion rule your behaviors and your thoughts and your actions. So remember, it's not the thing. It's your feeling about the thing. It's your opinion about the thing. So it goes back to you. It's about you taking responsibility, because it's so easy to point fingers and blame others or things for upsetting you. Well, if you didn't have an opinion about that thing, or if you had a different opinion about that thing, or if you had an opinion that didn't rule over you, but was more of a fleeting experience, then that thing wouldn't upset you. So remember that. Take back your power. Don't let things make you upset and stress you out even more. Don't let things become your stressors because of your opinion of those things. So this is how you take your power back. And when you take your power back, so many of the would-be stressors lose their power over you, lose their power to stress you out. The third of the main ideas in Stoicism is that we must act in virtue. Basically, that means be a good person. And while it may be less obvious in terms of how is being a good person going to help me manage stress better, well, if you think about it from a zoomed out point of view, a bird's eye point of view, when you're a nice person, you are probably less likely going to invite trouble your way or find yourself in contradictory situations. I'm not saying to be naive. I'm not saying to be a pushover. Just be generally nice. So let me give you a very simple example. If somebody were to cut you off in traffic, it happens. Sometimes they do it on purpose. Sometimes they're being a jerk. Sometimes they're oblivious to the fact that they even did it. Sometimes they do it without meaning to, because maybe their mind is elsewhere, or they're in a hurry. They have an emergency that you have no idea even exists in their life. But how you react to it can make all the difference in the world. So let's say somebody does cut you off, and what you do with it will make all the difference. So if you're choosing to be nice in that situation, to be nice in your response, you let it go, they go on their way, you go on your way, and that's it. But what if you start honking and gesturing and maybe decide to chase them down and follow them, or get in front of them and slam on your brakes, or do any of those more aggressive types of things, you can plainly see how letting it go and letting them go is going to lead to one experience, one immediate future experience, as opposed to reacting strongly can lead to even more trouble. That act of them cutting you off on the road is just the beginning of a potential Pandora's box, and it all depended on how you acted in response to what happened. So a generally nice person is probably not going to get all upset and flip out over the event. So this is where that comes in, that idea of just be a good person, be a nice person, do the best you can, but be nice to people. And again, nobody's telling you to be a pushover, to allow people to walk all over them, but pick your battles and just be kind and nice and understanding. And chances are you're going to have a lot less stress and stressors come your way. So this is how the three main ideas of Stoic philosophy or Stoicism can be of benefit to you today in many ways in life, but especially when we talk about reducing the stress in our lives and better managing the stress that comes our way along with its effects. So give that a try, be more stoic, and see how you can improve the effectiveness of your own stress management efforts. To learn more about a comprehensive approach to stress management, check out the link below.